Hello, everyone. Oh, I'm so excited to be here. I'm Kristen. I'm so happy to be doing this presentation for you today. And before we get started, I'd love for you to start using the chat box. I'd love to see who's here, where you're coming from. And please, this is an interactive Q&A for you. I've prepared a beautiful little presentation that's about a half an hour, 25 minutes, half an hour. And then I'm going to be diving into your personal questions about dragon's blood because this is really for you. I have been working with dragon's blood for the past 6 years. I love dragon's blood. It has changed so much of my life. It's really changed my health, and I've witnessed so many amazing transformations with my clients. And I get so many emails and inquiries about dragon's blood. I thought, this is a great opportunity to create a Q&A for you so that you could get all of your questions asked. So I'd love to see who's here and where you're coming from. And again, use the chat box, ask those questions. If I don't get to them in the middle of the presentation, I'll get to them at the end. So I don't see any questions yet. So I am just going to go ahead and get started because I really want to honor your time. Thank you so much for showing up for yourself. I'm super excited to be able to share with you today. Oh, and one more thing, I had to put this vulture in this presentation. This vulture is one of my spirit guides, and he came to me the other night and says, you have to put me in the background of this webinar. I was like, that's kind of weird, he's a vulture. Vultures are really amazing. I actually realized that vulture is like the dragon's blood plant of the bird kingdom. Vultures are really amazing because they are really great as scavengers. They clean up the carcasses of dead animals, and they clean them up so that we don't have any kind of bacterial infections. It really stops the spread of parasites, bacterial infections, and without vultures, we would have rampant energies of like toxins in the environment that vultures help clean up, because with their long necks, they're able to go into animals and then clean them out. And then like their digestive system is so amazing and so rock solid that it clears out and it neutralizes all of those bacteria so that when everything goes back into the environment, it's cleaner for us. And dragon's blood is very similar in its way. Hey, Tila, so nice to see you. Yay, I'm so excited. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in and have a beautiful presentation. So I'm just going to go for it. If you are here to learn how to unlock your blocks with dragon's blood. And this is a presentation where I'm going to be really sharing what you need to know about dragon's blood and about the sacred dragon's blood ceremonies that I work with. So thank you for being here. I'm super excited. So a couple years ago, I went down to the Amazon jungle of Peru to study with the indigenous Shipibo people and was introduced to a whole new world of sacred medicines. And there were so many that I worked with in the Amazon jungle, but out of the 12 main plants that I studied while I was there, dragon's blood has been the one that I continue to turn back to time and time again, mainly because it has so many amazing health benefits and it's so versatile. And I just love this medicine because I've literally had to clear out parasites so many different times in my life, and this has always been my go-to, and I'll be talking about that today. But before I share more about dragon's blood, I wanted to introduce myself for any of you that don't know who I am. My name is Kristen Von Fox, and I'm a psychotherapist turned shamanic healer. And for the last decade, I've been combining psychology, creative arts therapies, holistic nutrition, and shamanism to support my clients in a fully integrated and balanced approach to transformative healing. I work with core shamanic healing approaches like soul retrieval, and I use sacred plant medicines like dragon's blood to help my clients make major freaking breakthroughs through their blocks and reclaim their joy, their vibrancy, their power from old patterns and past traumas. Now, let's get into this presentation today, and you might be thinking, like, what the heck is dragon's blood anyway? Well, dragon's blood, also known as sangre de grado or sangre de draco, is a highly medicinal tree sap from the Croton leclerri evergreen tree, which you see right here. When you cut it open on the side, it has this beautiful sap that runs out, which is the sap of this tree and the dragon's blood. Now, there's different versions of dragon's blood. There's different species of this tree. So if you're thinking, oh, I burned dragon's blood resin, that's actually a different plant from the same family, but it is not the same of what we're talking about today. That would be of the Draconia species of the dragon's blood tree. Now, dragon's blood grows in so many regions of the world, including the Canary Islands, Peru, Ecuador, Bolivia, Colombia, Arabia, and Africa. And the species Crotonechleri was the tree which I fell so quickly in love with the Amazon jungle. And I loved it because within one sacred ceremonial treatment, I released so much stuck toxic energy that I felt like I released layers of blockages from my body, my mind, and my spirit. And I started using dragon's blood. My digestion started to improve. My eyesight brightened to clean so much stagnant energy out. And I started to release this mental fog, and this depression instantly lifted. And I cleared out so much stuck, like sabotagey energy, like food addictions, and all of these emotional blocks. And I've just turned to it on so many occasions. I've needed dragon's blood in my life. So I'm so giddy to share about it today. So in the jungles, the shamans spoke about sangre de grado, or dragon's blood, as a multi-purpose healing plant. And they primarily use dragon's blood for intestinal cleansing abilities in ceremonies and for its ability to purge unwanted parasites and bring the body's ecosystem back into balance. They also taught me the value of using the tree sap to heal scars, cuts, skin discoloration, and I later learned that the deeply healing sap could also be used to treat cancerous sores, athlete's foot, and other internal and external maladies. Because in the jungle, the shamans really know how to work with it on a couple different levels, mostly energetic, spiritual, but I needed to go look at the hard science. My background was in research primarily. And so I went home and I began to research all of these amazing benefits. And I realized just how highly medicinal this plant really is. I learned that drinking the medicinal sap could cure all sorts of stomach issues. It could bring candida gut issues into balance and boost collagen growth, right, ladies? You want to look young for a long time? You can do facials with dragon's blood. I've done it. It's great. It's also an effective treatment for Crohn's disease, leaky gut. It minimizes wrinkles and it heals bacterial infections. And I found out through my research that a derivative made from the Crotonechleri plant has also been FDA approved for treating gastric ulcers in HIV patients undergoing antiretroviral therapy. And the best of all, it's non-toxic and you can't overdose on it. And a lot of questions that people ask me, I kind of threw a couple questions in here because there's some things that people ask a lot. It is non-psychoactive. So if you take it, you'll feel grounded and present in your body. So in other words, it's non-psychedelic and safe for people who want to use this medicine for health every day. Now, dragon's blood is also super high, like ridiculously high in antioxidants, clocking in at over 2.8 billion units on the ORAC scale, which stands for oxygen, radical, absorbance capacity, which compares levels of antioxidants in certain foods to determine their antioxidant levels. And compare that to pomegranates at only 10,500 units or acai berries at 18,400 units. Dragon's blood clocks in at 2.8 billion units. So that's one freaking powerful medicine. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, like, what else is dragon's blood good for? Because there's so many benefits I've already railed off, but I wanted to cover what I found through the scientific research that I did by looking over those studies. And spoiler alert, I am actually working with a scientist now trying to put together a scientific research study on working with dragon's blood, specifically with the ceremonies that I'm going to be speaking about. But for now, I'm getting excited and ahead of myself. First, I wanted to talk about how dragon's blood can be used topically. So used topically, dragon's blood is anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, antiseptic, antimicrobial. It cleans and heals wounds rapidly by helping the body produce more collagen to cover and heal the wound quickly, like a natural Band-Aid. You can literally put it on your skin as it hardens. It cleans that wound. I take this around with me every time I travel. I remember I was traveling, got a big gash on my thumb, and it started to get like really dirty and also felt awful. I was like, oh, I got dragon's blood. So I put some dragon's blood on there. It sealed the wound and it completely healed it in a matter of days. It's also good for fungal infections and rashes on the body, like athlete's foot, and sometimes candida causes rashes on the body too. It helps decrease fine lines and wrinkles, right? Those facials you can do by boosting the collagen and giving the skin a more youthful appearance. It also heals scars and it lessens their appearance over time. And it also prevents herpes 1 and 2 breakouts if it's used on the onset of developing lesions. It heals hemorrhoids and it inhibits the growth of skin cancer cells in studies treating melanoma. Awesome, right? So good. So used internally, my favorite way to work with dragon's blood, it's antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal, antiparasitic. It shrinks tumor growth, and it's antidiarrheal. It also reduces inflammation, and it builds bone strength and bone mineralization. It supports healthy immune system function, and it protects the body from radiation, which you get a lot of if you travel on an airplane. So I love to take it when I travel. It increases blood flow to the brain and protects the body from neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and Huntington's disease. It heals gut lining, stomach ulcers, Crohn's disease, and irritable bowel syndrome. It also may help prevent diabetes by inhibiting the absorption of carbohydrates and sugars in the digestive tract. And for those of you who have receding gum lines, you can even swish your mouth with it and do a little gargle, and it also heals that as well, right? So many good things there. Now, dragon's blood has been used for centuries by indigenous people and the Shipibo people who I learned with, and they use it for different things like cleansing the body of parasites and pathogens. And during my studies with the Shipibo people in the jungle, they trained me in these sacred ceremonies, and I experienced the deep transformation this type of dragon's blood healing can bring. So after years of working with the dragon's blood in this ceremonial way, I've noticed not only for myself, but my clients have also been able to purge not only physical boundary parasites like liver flukes and worms, which actually do like come out of people. I've seen it in the buckets. It's quite extraordinary to like really release parasites in this way. But I've also find that my clients have been able to clear major energetic blockages, emotional blockages, toxic relationships, self-sabotaging tendencies, and paralyzing patterns. And I've had so many clients come into ceremony and drop so much baggage, they literally don't look the same when they leave. And it usually is like this gray energy over them. And as soon as they do this ceremony, all of the energy releases. It's like a good luck charm. It totally clears so much. So could you imagine dropping a bucket of your bullshit? It's amazing. Now, I wanted to share that in a 2009 national study, they found that 85% of Americans have some form of intestinal parasites. Oh, so gross. This is only going to get worse. I'm talking like hookworms, pinworms, heartworms, tapeworms, and all of those nasty things. Yeah, parasites literally don't just happen to your pets or kids in foreign countries. They might be happening to you too. Now, a little bit about some of these parasites here and where they come from is roundworms live in the stomach and the intestines, and they enter the body through undercooked and contaminated foods. Manure from organic farming contaminates a lot of produce because the animals, the livestock, have parasites almost always. And so anyone that's going on a raw food diet or eats a lot of salad, like good for you, that's great. Wash your greens a lot. You want to make sure that you're clearing off any of the physical parasites, any of their eggs, because that's one of the ways it can be transported to you. Now, tapeworms come from undercooked meats like beef and fish and pork. Liver flukes come from undercooked fish and sushi. And trust me, I totally let go of a liver fluke not too long ago that must have come from sushi I'd eaten a decade ago. So can you imagine that liver fluke was hanging out, leeching off of the energy in my liver for that long? It's crazy because they feed off of you and they live in your body and you might not even know it. Pinworms live in the inside intestinal tract and sometimes can even be found in the lungs because their eggs are so small and can be airborne and be inhaled. And what's really nasty, and I felt like I had to cover this topic, but it's so gross, guys, is that when you have pinworms, if you notice that you have like an itchy butthole in the middle of the night, especially around the full moon, that's when the pinworm comes out to lay its eggs. And so that's what you're feeling. And those eggs, if you scratch that, the eggs can go airborne. They can get under your fingernails. They can transport them everywhere in your apartment, to your neighbors, out on the subway, in so many different places. So, these things are really real and they can be hanging out everywhere pretty much. Hookworms are found in contaminated drinking water and they can burrow up into your feet. and go into your body, and they can lay dormant for up to a decade and lay eggs that take quite some time, a couple years, before they hatch. And so sometimes we have these things in our body and we have no idea. Now, again, where do parasites come from? Ooh, I can't even look at that picture. Yuck. So parasites, where do they come from? They come from a lot of unsuspecting places, like unwashed greens, like I had shared before. I know that there was actually a situation on the big island of Hawaii where there were lots of parasites that were actually living in the soil and getting into the greens. And so what people needed to do was steam all of their greens. They actually had to cook all of their greens because anything raw that was consumed had parasites that would go into your brain and eat your brain. So these things can come from so many different places. They can come from uncooked meat, pork. Pigs have a lot of parasites, so does beef, but you can even get it from seafood like sushi. Trust me, I just got some from Chinatown lobsters with my fiance, which I'll be talking about in the near future. But you can even get them from your pets, those pets that you want to love and spend time with. You can get them from their feces. You can get them from licking you. You can get them from sharing spaces. And you can also get them from someone who has parasites that you're intimate with. And sometimes I think like you might even get them from people that you live close to that you're not physically intimate with. I had a situation where I was going to a nutritionist and she kept saying like I had parasites, and I would test for all of the parasite cleanses. Dragon's blood always came out with the best test response for my body. So I would go and do the dragon's blood purge, and I would do my ceremony with it, and I would feel great. And I'd go back with this partner that I had, and I would get parasites again. And I'd go back to my nutritionist. I'd feel like shit. I wouldn't be able to sleep again. And she'd say, oh, you got it. You kept getting it. And I had to go through what was giving it to me. It was actually from a partner who every time I was with, I was getting the parasites from, and had to continue to cleanse. And had to have a really difficult conversation where he got really triggered when I said, I think you might have parasites, because no one wants to hear that. But the reality is that if 85% of Americans have them, it's important for at least one point in your life. It's good to do it every season, especially in the spring and the fall. In the spring, our livers are waking up. We're going into this phase of the seasons where our bodies want to cleanse. We crave the cleansing foods, and our bodies are naturally built to be able to cleanse easily. So those are great times to do dragon's blood ceremonies or any kind of parasite cleanse or cleanse in general. Now, of course, I'm not just going to leave you with that. I want to, know how would you know if you have parasites, right? That's like an important question. We need to know, like, well, how would I know? What are the symptoms? And there's a bunch of symptoms. And so I wanted to go over this, but I wanted to say that unfortunately, through a lot of the research I've done and even working with doctors, I had a lot of mystery illnesses a couple of years ago. And unfortunately, medical doctors don't have a lot of training in this area. And oftentimes symptoms of parasites go misdiagnosed, or one would be diagnosed with parasites years after they've been sick and everything else has been ruled out. And so I know from personal experience that I had parasites, and that was what was causing so many different problems in my system. I had all of these mystery illnesses. I had candida overgrowth. I had all sorts of things happening in my body, and it all came down to the issue of parasites. And it took a long time. I actually went to school to be a certified holistic nutritionist just to learn how to heal and cure myself. And this is one of the biggest things that I've been working with clients on, with relieving parasites, doing candida cleanses, until I stepped into the plant medicine work and the shamanic work, which I love doing. And that's my favorite thing to do. This is something that's really real. And I know personally I've had to go through this journey myself. And I wish someone would have told me that all of these symptoms could have meant that I had parasites. I have a couple pages here, so bear with me. And if you have any of these in the last 6 months to a year, it's good to consider that you might have something going on with parasites. And so let's just look at the symptoms now. So intestinal disturbances like diarrhea, chronic constipation. Sometimes that can go with explosive early bowel movements and having diarrhea. So it can even go back and forth between the two. I've personally had that problem in the past. Gas and bloating, digestive problems, abdominal pain, mucus in the stools, leaky gut issues, nausea, hemorrhoids, burning in the stomach, and bloody stools. You could even have chronic fatigue syndrome or low energy that totally puts a lot of weight on you, and your organs are taxed when you have parasites that are leaking off of your power. So it can be really hard to feel energized. You can feel excessive weakness, brain fog. That's a big one. And you might even have issues with your sleep, like insomnia or teeth grinding during your sleep, bedwetting, drooling while asleep, disturbed sleep and multiple awakenings, even skin disorders like dry skin or dry hair, brittle hair, hair loss, allergies, having an itchy nose or an itchy anus, right? Especially around the full moon when some of those pinworms are coming out to lay their eggs, itchy skin, hives, even like that crawling sensation under your skin. All of a sudden you might be having allergic reactions to foods. You get really bloated when you eat certain things. You don't feel so good, or maybe get a headache from that. Skin rashes, weeping eczema, cutaneous ulcers, papular lesions, swelling, sores, and even anxiety and mood problems like mood swings and nervousness, depression and forgetfulness, and unclear thinking, restlessness, anxiety, or slow reflexes. You might even have issues with weight gain, like having a lot of weight on you, having all sorts of food cravings, long-standing obesity, or even a loss of appetite. I really find that when I have parasites, I have this like uncontrollable hunger. You eat more than normal, but you still feel hungry. Sometimes I find that when you have parasites, you'll eat a meal that's like healthy and good for you, but then you'll crave a sweet or a sugar right after, or you'll crave something that you know will give you a stomach ache if you eat it after the last meal. And that's because the parasites love to get you to have a backed up digestive system, because then they have more food to feed off inside of your colon and inside of your intestines. Gross, but true. And some people might even have issues and muscle pains, joint pains, muscle cramps, numbness in the hands or feet, heart pain, pain in the navel, right? Pain in the stomach, pain in the back, thighs, or shoulders, arthritic pains, a rapid heartbeat. And it can even go into the bedroom, right? Like male impotence and erectile dysfunction might start showing up if there's something leeching off of your energy, leeching off of your power. PMS, ladies, oh my goodness, I have PMS so bad when I have parasites, and when I don't have parasites, I don't feel so bad. So it's made a difference for me. You might have candida and lots of yeast infections, chronically or very often, even UTIs, urinary tract infections, cysts and fibroids if you have menstrual problems, prostate problems, and even an issue with retaining too much water. Now, there's also blood disorders like hypoglycemia and anemia that can also be symptoms of parasites, as well as having excess saliva, right? Drooling while you're asleep, you have so much saliva in your mouth, unclear vision, bad breath, poor immune system response or fever, respiratory problems, peritonitis, chronic viral or bacterial symptoms, and even body odor. Now, I also thought it was really important, if we're going to be talking about physical parasites, to also talk about energetic parasites. And I talk about this because this is something I come across time and time again in my energetic work. And again, I've been studying shamanism for years. I've been a shamanic practitioner specializing in the energetics of it and working with a practice called soul retrieval, which is the main practice that I do with my clients. And it's believed that if you've been through any type of trauma, if you've had some difficult thing that's happened to you, that it's possible that part of your spirit, your soul, dissociates as a way to go through the situation as unscathed as possible. But you may find that if you've gone through a traumatic experience, that part of your spirit leaves, part of your confidence, your energy, your vitality, your power. And what I find is that when clients go through a hard time, maybe it was a difficult relationship, they gave a lot of their power away, or an abandonment, or a death of a loved one, it can cause this big wound. And when you have a part of your spirit or your energy that leaves your body, it creates this void that's open to other energies to get in and to make you sick. And it was believed in all of the training that I've done with shamanic and indigenous peoples around the world, is that when someone goes through any kind of traumatic experience, that these voids that are left behind can be easily filled with illnesses, parasites, jealousy, depression, and a lot of symptoms of those energetic parasites that I find leave when you do this ceremonial type of dragon's blood work. So any kind of mood swings or depression, rage, anything that makes you so angry that you know it's kind of like a little bit uncalled for the situation, but you just get so angry. It's like almost this layer of anger that's not yours that comes out of you that you usually regret. I think most people regret when they really overreact, but it's usually because something else is being triggered. or not feeling like yourself, feeling like really like moody and down and like heavy, having any kind of negative self-talk, dark suicidal thoughts, personality changes when a trauma is triggered, or personality changes when you're drunk or when you're under the influence of a substance, especially when you're drinking alcohol, I found. Any kind of self-sabotaging behaviors or feeling tired and drained, especially when you know you need to take action. And so, if you've experienced any of these symptoms in the last year, I'd really encourage you to take action around reclaiming your health. And I did want to point out that if you're feeling triggered by this conversation right now, by this presentation, that's totally normal. And it actually might indicate that you may have parasites, because parasites get so freaking triggered when we talk about them. We're basically shining a big bright light onto them, and they're like, oh no, I have to run, I have to go. And sometimes that can cause you to feel really anxious or really scared or really angry when we start talking about parasites. I'll definitely say that my ex-boyfriend who I had that conversation with, he was definitely triggered, and I know he like yelled at me. It was the only time he ever like freaked out on me and was like, I don't have parasites, and got really aggressive with me. And he hung up the phone on me. And then he called his sister, and then he called me back and he says, I think I have parasites. I got so triggered just now. I've never behaved like that. And I was like, yep, I believe it. And so I find that with my clients, when we're going to be doing this deep work, there's a lot of anxiety that can come up that's really about those energies that are being seen and that are being released. They get scared before they have to go, because it's like us going into a house where there's squatters and pointing out the homeless people and saying like, oh, there's a bunch of homeless people in there, and they get riled up. And if you don't actually release them, it just causes a lot of anxiety to get stuck inside of you. Now, I wanted to share that a couple of weeks ago, I started feeling like shit. I started experiencing all these flare-ups of old thyroid problems. I used to have Hashimoto's, and I was able to reverse it with nutrition and clearing parasites and working on the different organs of my system. But I started to feel really shitty a couple of weeks ago and started having trouble sleeping. All of these hormonal imbalances started to happen. And these were all symptoms of freaking parasites. Because my fiance and we actually picked up some parasites from Chinatown lobsters that we ate a few weeks ago. And I will tell you, I got so dark and so moody, and I had this depressive cloud of energy just looming over me. I didn't feel like myself. I couldn't sleep, especially around the full moon, because I felt so anxious and energized. And I even had this winter cold that I just couldn't kick. And I never get sick, but for whatever reason, I never got fully sick, but I never really got rid of it. And, it turns out that we had parasites from those lobsters. So my partner and I did an early spring cleanse with dragon's blood and transformed that freaking energy. And now, oh my goodness, I feel so much lighter and happier. And it's amazing how much of a dark cloud I had over me in this whole winter season, which was totally cleared as soon as we did these ceremonies. And now I totally feel like myself again. I'm bright, I'm shiny. For a while, I was getting scared there. I was like, what's going on with me? I never get depressed like this. And it turns out it was all because of the parasites. And, my clients have been having these amazing and similar breakthroughs like I have been having with dragon's blood, where they're able to release pains from childhood traumas and go into very specific things that they want to shift in their life. And once they focus on it in the ceremony, they're actually able to completely eradicate these issues. I've found that my clients have released unhealthy relationships, unhealthy codependencies, depression, anger. I've had people who are really resentful and really angry at people. They do the dragon's blood ceremony, then they reach out to me and they're like, I have no access to any of that anger anymore. I have no more anxiety. It completely shifted. So sometimes parasites have that energetic hold over us. So we're able to clear them with these amazing ceremonies. And I just wanted to throw in a few testimonials here, because real people have been working with me and doing this amazing, deep, transformative work. We have Jenna from the Hudson Valley who said, thank you so much for the dragon's blood session yesterday. I am honestly so grateful to know you. Your work is life-changing. I am amazing. I am feeling huge shifts already in how I am in relationship and in my life. My heart is so open and I am so clear. And me and Jenna did a couple one-on-one sessions and did some really deep healing work and some soul retrieval. Now, Daniel says, the spirit of the dragon led me through intense cleansing. For anyone who considers this ceremonial practice, I would strongly encourage you to partake. You will release so much negative parasitic energy as well as physical parasites you didn't even know lived inside you. In addition, Kristen is one-of-a-kind spirit guide that will undoubtedly help you step into your true purpose. I love Daniel. We've had some really good group work together doing group ceremonies. And Kristen also came to the group and says it helped me feel so much lighter in a time when I was feeling really bogged down and had no energy to do anything. It opened up a new way of thinking and helped give me the energy to shed negative relationships. It was great. I swear by it. I love it. Now, I really wanted to invite you to have this opportunity to join me for these sacred Shipibo-style dragon's blood ceremonies to assist you in clearing both physical and energetic parasites. In these amazing half-day workshops I've been putting together for groups, I'm also doing work with couples and individuals who are seeking deep levels of physical, emotional, and spiritual transformation, because this is not for the lighthearted. This is really deep, good work. And so dragon's blood is right for you if you have physical or energetic parasites and you want to clear them. If you want an extra push to shift your energy, sometimes we need an extra push and someone to like put us in a situation and help us move through it, right? If you need that extra push, this is a great way to do it. If you're ready to end food cravings, bloating, and parasitic squatters. Oh my goodness. I have like one of those onesies on. I can't show you my stomach right now, but I was so bloated for so many, like the whole winter, I was so bloated. I just have been taking the dragon's blood. I did 3 ceremonies over the last 3 weeks, and my belly is so tight. I have not worked out in a really long time. And all of a sudden, it's like I look like I've lost 10 pounds, mainly because of the bloat and because it regulates everything in your system. So I didn't add it on there, but I found that doing this approach also aids in weight loss and clearing up food addictions. I just wanted to add that. So, if you want to reset your body, your mind, and spirit and drop the blocks and bullshit, and if you're ready to end old cycles of trauma and call in your power and purge those negative vibes for good, then this may be the right approach for you. Now, I do a couple of different things with my clients. My purpose today is to educate you on the healing properties of this plant and offer you an opportunity to go deeper in your up-leveling process. So if you're interested in working with dragon's blood within the sacred container, let's make a date, because I combine my soul retrieval healing work with my private one-on-one dragon's blood ceremonies. My ceremonies are about 5 hours long. They're really in depth. It's the most amazing and transformative thing I've ever been able to offer my clients, because I give you all of my tools. And I'm a Cancer rising. I love to nurture who I work with. The one-on-ones go and really bring so much light in. They're so wonderful, because I really believe that to do this clearing work, it's best to get out all of the old stuff and then replenish that with your power. And so with soul retrieval, we have a tool to do that. And I'm also being called and asked by my guides and asked by the spirit of the dragon's blood to do this amazing work with couples as well. And I found that, and working with my partnership especially, it's like when you have those triggers, sometimes our parasites can trigger one another, and we can be bickering and getting upset and having fights about stupid shit, right? But when we start working with it and purging it and releasing it from this deep level, I find that me and my partner, the things that made us mad, we literally no longer have access to the things that pissed us off. It's like, oh, well, it doesn't bother me anymore. It's gone, because we've released the baggage that was causing us to flare up. So if you have like big issues that you want to work through in your partnerships, you just want to grow together, step into your power together, this is a great freaking avenue to step into that alignment by working together. Our partners are our mirror, so we can grow so deeply, and then really being called to offer this container for couples to work with. I've worked with couples for a little while, but this has been a main call for me because I'm able to offer that soul retrieval work as well. And then, of course, for people who want to do the group work as well, I do group work in the spring and in the fall, and a little bit in the summer when there's some time. Winter is not a great season in Brooklyn where I live. It gets cold out here. We don't want to do it. The season is now officially opening. I follow a little bit more of the Chinese medicine calendars, which start springtime with the Chinese New Year. And I find that that's a great way to start doing cleansing work. And so if you want something more affordable, you want to do the group ceremonies, they're really amazing. My clients have amazing transformations in those as well. So, I really would invite you, if you do want to go deeper, check out all of the types of offerings that I have. I'll have my website at the end of this presentation. But if you want to hear it, it's theshamanatrix.com, and I'll put the links at the end of this presentation. But I did want to say that this is deep work, and I do not recommend that you take this parasitic purging approach alone. Because one, this is a sacred transformational ceremony, and I don't advise anyone to do that level of work without the assistance of an experienced practitioner working in sacred alliance with the traditions of this plant medicine. And two, things come up that you need assistance with energetic clearing, and it may be difficult to clear that on your own without the ceremonial container and without an experienced practitioner. So this precaution is for your own safety. I will say that I had an amazing medicine brother. He grew up in the Amazon and has been doing sacred, shamanic, indigenous healing work for so many years, has been working with the plants, and he had never worked with dragon's blood. And that was one of the ceremonies I remember so deeply because he struggled so much through that, and he needed outside help to be able to help him move through some of the blockages. And it turns out he had like a really nasty curse that was put on him that he was releasing in the ceremony. And that's the level of precision that this plant and the background in my work that I'm able to offer my clients through these ceremonies is to really go in, especially one-on-one. We can really go into what those core issues are. I've had a couple people that if they're trying to sever a relationship with a toxic or abusive partner, it's like sometimes we feel the energy of that partnership trying to come in and hold those cords strong. And so I really like to support my clients, to be there for them and to support them through this process. Plus, you wouldn't fly a plane yourself if you had never even been on a plane. So I just really want to make sure that there's so many good ways to work with dragon's blood. And in this container, I'd really say, don't try this at home and do a purgative ceremony. If you're interested in doing non-ceremonial work and working with dragon's blood, I'd encourage you to do your research and talk with your doctor or nutritionist to find out what dosage works with you and what works. Because dragon's blood is amazing. It has so many benefits outside of this ceremonial context. So please, definitely check it out. Do your research. Talk to those who you work with that you trust with your health. Unfortunately, doing individual nutritional counsel around self-healing outside of the scope of the ceremonies is outside of my expertise, because I only really want to work with people who are ready to do that deep dive and holistic healing process, because this work is really deep. So if that feels good to you, I would love to invite you to just check out my website, read some more. This is just an informative presentation to give you a little bit of information. I had to share the last slide because it's the dragon. So please definitely check out what I'm offering right now at theshamanatrix.com. Most of my sessions are in Brooklyn at this time, but I'm also going to be going out into the West Coast. I'm being asked to travel. So there's going to be some in Portland. There's going to be some in Tucson, Arizona. There's going to be some in Northern Oregon, and potentially Maryland as well. So there's other places that this medicine will be going. And of course, I do one-on-one work, and I'm open to creating relationships with people and supporting them in their health. So, if you're interested, please reach out. I'd love to hear from you. And so I'm going to pull down the slides now, because I'd love to see what questions have come through. Unfortunately, I have not been able to read any of the comments until now. No more, Jonathan says, no more pay shit. Very true, clear-headed. Tila says, seems great for Lyme and treating blood infections. Absolutely. And it is so beautiful. Isn't it a beautiful tree? So yes, all of those things. So I'd love to open it up. Are there any questions that anyone has that they'd like to ask now? Because the floor is for you. And if not, I have one question I thought might come up if no one asks any questions, because I want to make sure that people feel like they walk away from this presentation knowing everything they need to know. So in the meantime, the question that I wanted to address was, aren't there other natural ways to clear parasites? Because I know there's some medicines you can take if your doctors do have, do diagnose you with parasites. There are things that you can take if they're able to find that diagnosis. There are many different natural ways of clearing. There's black walnut hull. There's all sorts of, olive leaf. There's all these different things, diatomaceous earth you can use. But what I found is that I've done these in the past, and I've had issues where some of the parasites were cleared, but not all of them. And I had issues where I thought I did the full cleanse, but then they didn't really go. And honestly, I felt like shit for years until I started using dragon's blood, and I started feeling amazing. And what's so great is when you're doing any kind of cleanse, it does create something called the Herxheimer response. Because when the parasites are dying off in your system, what ends up happening is they secrete all of these toxins into your bloodstream, which overwhelms your system and causes you to have a headache, feel like really terrible before you feel better. And that will naturally clear on its own. Drink a lot of water through that process. But what's really amazing is that Dragon's Blood ceremonies, in this particular format that I'm talking about, you actually release all of the Herxheimer response. You don't have that reaction because you're releasing the parasites and their toxins. And so I found it's the fastest way you can clear parasites in 2 to 3 treatments, because you need to make sure that you clear them and their offspring, their eggs, because they lay eggs, and you want to make sure that you get all of the generations cleared out of your system so you can feel good again. You don't have that situation come back. I've also found that it's just so quick, because for other over-the-counter packages that you can get. I was doing a lot of research on this recently, and I was hearing that a lot of the herbs that are put into many of them are not the greatest quality, or they're sitting on the shelves for a while, so they depreciate in their level of effectiveness, efficiency. And so what ends up happening is you might not fully eradicate them from your system, but Dragon's Blood, boom, it gets it. It gets it quickly, and you'll feel good by like the next day, if not the day of. And so, Tila, hey, so I have a lot of parasite cleansing. How frequent does this need to be done? Yes. So I was just sharing that people need to do 2 to 3 sits. I find that 3 sits you feel the best. Some people who have really deep issues, sometimes, like there's one person that came to me who's been obese for quite some time, and the message I'm getting is she needs 4. Some people just need more treatments because the energies are deeper. But for the physical parasites, you do need to do 2 to 3. I've done in my lifetime, oh my goodness, like how many times have I done this cleanse? I would have to say like at least 50 times or more. When I went down to the jungle, for whatever reason, I understand it now, but they had me do this purge every single morning, and everyone else would go eat breakfast. And I would go to get breakfast, and they'd be like, no, here's your cup of Dragon's Blood. And I would go do it. And I would literally sit outside of the kitchen and like projectile vomit on like over the chickens. And all of the Shipibo teenagers would like come out of their village and sit on this log and just watch me, this like white gringo. They're like, hey, like, let's just watch her purge these parasites. I mean, I guess it was a spectacle because there wasn't too much going on there, but I've worked with this a lot. And what I find is the more you do it, the more energy it clears. So even if I don't have physical parasites, sometimes I personally get the call to sit with it to release toxic energy that I have built up in my system. And over this winter, I've been doing a lot of healing work with my clients. I've been doing coaching for a program called Truly Transformation. And during that, all this stuff was coming up, and I was transmuting it with all of the tools I have. But Dragon's Blood, like everything else, came out into the bucket. I was having issues with grief over loss of my family, and there was a beautiful cleanse that happened just from doing the energy work and then stepping into doing that ceremony. It was just like all of it just like left me, so it felt great. So Tila says, I'm interested to remove anger and stagnant energy. Oh my God, it's so good for that. It's perfect. It's like the right thing. You're doing Dragon's Blood tincture, but only in the morning and night. More cleansing. I've purged so many things. Yes, question is like a combo type cleansing. So I love this question because a lot of people don't know what combo is. Combo is a very sacred medicine from the monkey tree frog that lives in the Amazon jungle. This is a really wonderful medicine. I've personally worked with it, and I know some really great practitioners who work with it as well. And what they do is they take the poisonous residue that's on the back of this particular frog, they scrape it off, they reconstitute it, they add water, and they burn the superficial layers of your skin, and they place it on there, and it causes you to feel very sick. The medicine goes into your bloodstream, and it essentially causes you to have this purgative reaction. It's similar in the way that you will be purging. You'll be drinking water to purge. I recently did combo, and like I missed Dragon's Blood the whole time. I was like, I hate this. I want Dragon's Blood. And right after, a couple weeks after I did Dragon's Blood, it's different in the sense that I believe the Dragon's Blood is so much safer. There's a lot of research to support that as well. You can't overdose on it. I've fainted during combo ceremonies before. It can be really intense. I've had some infections with it as well. Even though I believe in the medicine, dragon's blood has been my biggest ally out of the medicines that I've worked with, because it really helps to release that stuck energy. But I think it goes to a different layer. It's like it has all these like little scrubber bubbles that go in, they chase after those energies in the body, and they help to really eradicate, especially as those stagnant energies. So yes, it's like combo in the sense that you will be purging, but it's like you don't have swelling in your face or your throat. I really, from all the times I've done combo, you feel better faster and you feel better for longer. And I think you clear a lot more stuff. But I've also had really amazing transformative experiences with combo as well. So I honor all of those medicines. They're all beautiful. I love dragon's blood. Dragon's blood is like my homie. I love going back to it. Great. Yes, I want to clean my blood. And this is really, really good for going in there and doing a lot of cleansing. It's adaptogenic in the sense that it goes into the body. It knows where to go. It knows what to work on. So I work with dragon's blood in many different ways. I've just found that, the best things happen when I do this purgative style, and do these sacred ceremonies. It's like so much comes out. It's like 10 years of therapy in a bucket. And Tila says, I know it can protect from negative energies. Yes, absolutely. It's a very highly protective tree. That's something that I work with. When I do my group work, I really encourage people, because it's non-psychoactive. You don't have that disconnect from body to connect in with the spirit. I really encourage people to go into trance using the drums. I have my trusted drum over here, who helps us go through that way of connecting in with the shamanic journey, to go into trance, to speak to the spirit of the dragon. And so I find that my clients have so many amazing breakthroughs on top of their breakthroughs once they connect in with the spirit, because a lot of this is about honoring the spirit of all the plants that we're working with, honor their energy, honor their wisdom, all the goodness that they bring. And so it's so good. It's such great stuff. So are there any other questions before I wrap up for today? So good. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you making the time. Amazing. I've worked with dragons too. Like, yeah, dragons are really powerful. I have this dragon that like just swirls around me now and just is like, we are aligned. And I will say one thing is that I was meditating before this presentation today, and I remembered a pact that I made with the plants of the jungle. And when I went down there, I was working with a couple of the sacred ones and felt really connected to them. And they said, we want you to go back to your life and become a spokesperson for us. It's important that the wisdom that we bring comes to the people who need it. And I got teary-eyed right before I was meditating, because I remembered that they had told me that 6 years ago, completely forgot. And I was like, oh, yep, I'm doing that now. And I've already forgot the other thing I was going to say. But thank you so much for joining me. Check out my website, theshamanatrix.com. That's where I have all of the information. I'll put this slide up one more time. This last slide, theshamanatrix.com. There you go. Now you can see it. Check me out. I've got so many good things brewing, but my favorite thing now to do is to really offer this transformative healing with dragon's blood in all of those different containers. So if you're interested, you can find me there. And I hope that you have a blessed and amazing transformative day. Me and the dragon, we totally love you, and we hope to see you soon. Big hugs.